because we're in kind of a Bitcoin section here. The big news out of the weekend from the Bitcoin 2021 conference, which a lot of it was pretty cringe, a lot of yelling and stuff like that. But this is CNBC.com. El Salvador looks to become the world's first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender.
Yeah.
Big deal here for a country to use Bitcoin as legal tender. There was a very emotional presentation from Jack Mallers, who's the guy behind a company called Strike, who's working on remittances and stuff like that. And I condensed this, it's like a 24-minute presentation or maybe like 22-minute presentation down to a couple clips under 2 minutes, or I guess the other one is a little over 2 minutes, just to get an idea here, because it plays into the sentiments of why, people are really into Bitcoin and why it can be useful for the world and I get it. I get the arguments about like, oh, this is the beginning of a one world currency and all that. But it's one of those issues where, okay, but what if it's helping people that are being destroyed by the US dollar? And by the way, Jack Mallers here, after this presentation, he was completely banned on Twitter, which makes no sense because, the other Jack, Dorsey, was at the conference. So he was like jealous that Jack Mallers got all the
maybe
attention,
he
or
bumped
something?
into him in the hallway.
Yeah.
Jack just takes out his personal, he gets mad at somebody or feels insulted and just bans them.
Yeah. Jack Mallers is also the guy who sponsored the Bitcoin car for the Indy 500 last weekend. So anyway, here's a couple clips from the presentation.
So the Federal Reserve, anyone know what that is? Central banks are increasingly taking actions that may cause harm to the economic stability of developing countries and emerging markets. This is a huge deal and a huge problem. The large-scale printing of dollars by the Federal Reserve has an unintended spillover that's drastically impacting the quality of life of those less privileged and those that need help in developing and emerging markets. And we're facing unprecedented times, check all the data you want, that we haven't seen for a century. This is real, and it's happened, and it's happening now, and it's really scary. El Salvador is a great example. It's a country that uses the dollar because in a civil war they lost their own currency. It's a country where over 20% of the GDP is inbound remittance. It's how capital is influx into the economy. However, of that GDP, fees can be upwards to 50%. What that does is it causes individuals to rely on crime and violence, and it ruins the security of the country. But if you rewind those steps, if you can fix the money, you can fix the world.
All right.
Ooh,
so yeah.
Quite a quote there. If you can fix the money, you can fix the world.
Yeah. Sorry about the connection there. I don't know what's going on with some of my hardware. It's doing some stuff that's not great with the static and everything, but I think we got it under control. So Jack goes on here and talks about how he moved to El Salvador and how he, got to know the local community there and just immersed himself in there and started to get people onto Bitcoin, open, because people there don't have bank accounts. They don't even have access to bank accounts. They can't, their ATMs don't work, but there's a local economy there. But they have cell phones. So this is the second half. And I edited this together again to shorten everything. And included in this clip is a message from the president of El Salvador.
And so then I got a message on behalf of the president of the country. And I met more of the government. And I became friends with the security guards. It's a big rifle. And they dropped some really heavy stuff on me. Over 70% of the active population in El Salvador doesn't have a bank account. They're not in the financial system. They had a huge problem of financial inclusivity and providing their citizens with basic human freedom. And so they asked me to help write a bill, and that they viewed Bitcoin as a world-class currency, and that we needed to put together a Bitcoin plan to help these people You give them hope. You give them a quality of life, and that you can live where you're born in. You don't have to leave. And when you send money home, they're not going to take fucking half of it. And so with all that being said, I'd like to invite now someone I've spent some time with to share a message.
So emotional.
And I'm president of El Salvador. Ask almost anyone what they think about the future, and they will say something along the lines of nuclear war, climate catastrophe, hunger, pestilence, the death of life.
Pestilence.
We didn't take care of the beautiful idea that we create our own future. I believe Bitcoin could be one of these ideas. That is why next week, I will send to Congress a bill that will make Bitcoin a legal tender in El Salvador. In the short term, this will generate jobs and help provide financial inclusion to thousands outside the formal economy. And in the medium and long term, we hope that this small decision can help us push millions of this tiny bit into the right direction.
Central banks are increasingly taking actions that may cause harm to the economic stability of El Salvador. That in order to mitigate the negative impact from central banks, it becomes necessary to authorize the circulation of a digital currency with a supply that cannot be controlled by any central bank and is only altered in accord with the objective and calculable criteria.
This guy is so emotional.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's poured his kind of life work into helping these people in El Salvador, and for him to get the government to do this is kind of a big deal, at least to him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And you know, I cut out a lot of the stuff about him meeting the local people there, and he met this one guy who's a fisherman, and he doesn't have a bank account, he doesn't have credit cards, doesn't have debit cards or anything like that, and how, you know, this guy Jack showed him how to start getting Bitcoin and use it in the local economy, and how it basically gave him hope and all that kind of stuff.
What's the thing? Yeah, okay, I get it. He's stoked. I mean, it's a big deal for El Salvador to be officially recognizing Bitcoin as a currency. Mm-hmm.
Panama is hinting that they might be next. So this could be the beginning of a domino effect in terms of countries that are willing to do this. And this brings up an interesting question, because in essence, Bitcoin is sort of an enemy to the US dollar. Trump came out, I don't have the clip here, but Trump came out and said he still doesn't like Bitcoin. I think over the weekend, he's like, I don't get Bitcoin. I think it's a scam. I'm all about the US dollar, which I'm like, ugh, you know, I don't know.
He loves his Illuminati dollars, man. He's in the system.
I just don't get the whole, like, I get that it's kind of an America first message with that, but also the US dollar is just, you know, it's destroyed countries.
This is also a generational thing, man.
Yeah,
anybody, you know, all the rich guys who are over 60, I would even say there's some 60-year-olds. Any rich guy over 70 is completely, vehemently, aggressively against Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a generational thing. Not to say that Bitcoin is any sort of savior. That's not really our point.
That's not the point either.
This is going to be interesting, because the real hardcore Bitcoin people, they're sort of libertarian, anarcho-capitalist types. And I think we're going to see a lot of Bitcoin people moving to El Salvador.
Yeah, especially because the president of El Salvador tweeted yesterday: 1, great weather, world-class surfing beaches, beachfront properties for sale. 2, one of the few countries in the world with no property tax. 3, no capital gains tax for Bitcoin since it will be a legal currency. That's fantastic, because in America, I think capital gains tax can be upwards of like 40%. If you live in California and you have less than a year of capital gains tax, it's like 43% right now. So it's out of control. Number 4, immediate to permanent residence for crypto entrepreneurs. So there you go. He's really the marketing to open up El Salvador to the world's wealthy. In terms of that whole concept, is a brilliant idea to do this.
Well, it's brilliant for a couple of reasons. First of all, we're not suggesting anybody go buy Bitcoin and move to El Salvador, but from the El Salvador El Salvadorian government perspective, they're in a tough spot. They don't really have their own effective currency. They've been using the dollar because the Civil War, ruined their own currency. It's just in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And with the economic troubles comes crime and things like that. So, this is a response. This is the correct response when a different country bans Bitcoin or talks about banning Bitcoin, because the problem is that, Bitcoin is such a big force now, and there's so many people who are on board and making money from it, that I think you'll have a huge influx of Bitcoin millionaires moving to El Salvador. It's going to bring an incredible boom to their economy, or at least that would be sort of the surface level analysis. We'll see if it actually happens or not.
Yeah.
But for a country that doesn't really seem to have a whole lot of other options, I could see how this would be an enticing way for them to try to bounce back and fill their country with millionaires, versus, just having it sort of languish in a economy-less sort of void.
Yeah. Yeah. So just something interesting. I think we'll see some develop. We've already seen a lot of interesting developments surrounding cryptocurrencies this year. I still think central banks are going to issue central bank digital currencies. The digital yuan is already out there.
Yeah.
The digital dollar, I think, may take some more time. The U.S. is just so slow on acting on this stuff. Inflation's taking place, but there's philosophical differences between the pro-government economists who are like, oh, it's not really happening, to other people that are like, yeah, it's happening. Have you looked at the gas? It's just very interesting how the controllers themselves, the people that are close to the money printing press, seem to have a different opinion about the US dollar than everybody else.
Yeah.
Recent news about Russia starting to get rid of their dollars. It's a big problem. It is a big problem because, and I don't think people in the US think about that in terms of like the short term effects. Long term, you got the mark of the beast, all that stuff. I get that. Short term, if Russia's like, hey, we're getting rid of all of our dollars, and if like China starts doing that, all these big countries start doing that, where are all those dollars going? They're coming back home. And you know what that means? Crazy inflation in America.
Another inflationary force.
Crazy inflation. So
yeah,
that means, a loaf of bread becomes $50, $100, whatever. It'll be out of control. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
It's already crazy. I saw gas recently that was like $5.20.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Anywho,
so it's just one of those hedges against that, where if you can hold some Bitcoin for the short term, it's going to eat up that inflation instead of being stuck with a salary and stuff that's losing purchasing power every day.
Right.
So I don't know. That's my armchair to Satoshi's economic analysis from a podcaster. So don't take any of it as financial advice or any kind of financial analysis of any kind of weight. But there you go. That's just my take on things.
Okay. Well, I think it's about time we check in with the aliens.
Aliens. Where are the aliens? Aliens. We're made by the aliens.
We're coming closer to disclosure, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some stuff was supposed to happen in June, July, also one of the target dates. And just in time, independent.co.uk comes out with a headline: Obama predicts new religions could arise if proof of aliens discovered. Oh, man. Here we go. Former President Barack Obama predicted that concrete evidence of alien life would fundamentally change global society in an interview published Tuesday with the New York Times. Speaking with Ezra Klein on the Ezra Klein Show, the 44th president was confronted with a potential scenario in which humans had verified that alien life was probing the Earth. Strange way to put that. Okay. But as of yet, had no way of making contact with the mysterious beings. Mr. Obama replied that his overall political viewpoints would likely not differ. while predicting that many people around the world would see their own philosophies challenged and a whole host of new discussions would arise. Quote, "It's interesting. I wouldn't change my politics at all because my entire politics is premised on the fact that we are these tiny organisms on this little speck floating in the middle of space," said Mr. Obama. Quote, "But no doubt there would be immediate arguments about, like, well,